Hey guys, Al again from Bethany Farm and Nursery, and we're back in our no-dig garden. The last time we were out here, besides when we planted the tomato plant, but you didn't really get the chance to see the whole garden. Regardless, the last time we were out here, we were just installing our beds. The garden's finished. So we have our no-dig beds. You know, this is our compost that we produce here on the farm. Wood chips lining the walkways. Now you always have to remember that walkways are part of the garden, guys. And the reason that I like to put wood chips down, the reason a lot of people like to put wood chips down is because you see the plants on the end of the beds, well, their roots, they're gonna go spread out and reach into the walkways, well, underneath the walkways. The wood chips just help to retain moisture, and they're also gonna decompose. So we have our walkways in. If you look on the outside of the garden, we did plant more pollinators. So we have bee balm, lavender, echinacea, or coneflower, common name. The lavender is a great thing, great plant to have near your gardens. Not only does it bring in your pollinators, but it also, deer hate them. And we don't want deer out here eating our veggies. So come on into the garden and we'll just kind of go over what we've planted so far. This bed right here, we have our zucchinis. The majority of the things that you see right now, we planted a week ago. We were a little bit late. We actually got them in on Memorial Day, which was a lot of fun. So zucchini in this bed, you will notice that we have the marigolds scattered throughout the garden. The reason that we bring in the marigolds is because not only do they prevent some pests from coming in, but they also invite predatory bugs that are gonna feed on your aphids and your thrips, pests that you just don't want in the garden. So zucchini here, we got early summer squash here. We have a couple different varieties of peppers in this bed. More peppers here. This is our main pollinator bed. So this bed, we are using the sweet peat that I discussed in the last video. The sweet peat, when we planted these flowers about a month ago, they were about this big. These things are thriving. They're huge, they're actively growing and healthy as can be, and they are bringing in the pollinators, which is exactly what you want. So this cool little bed right here, we have more peppers, sweet corn. In this bed we have two of the varieties of kale that we grew from seed. You have your Russian red and your dinosaur kale. Kale is one of my personal favorites in the garden, and maybe we'll make a video down the road about why I love kale so much. This bed we have tomatoes, we got more marigolds, and then we also have a couple different kinds of basil. You can't grow tomatoes without having some basil. I mean, who doesn't enjoy a sliced tomato with some Moots cheese and the basil on top with a little vinegar drizzled? I mean, come on. We're in the Northeast here. More tomatoes here, more basil, more tomatoes. In this bed we have some eggplant growing. We did get a little bit of bug damage on the leaves, as you can see. But that's the reason. Actually, you can see what's causing. You see the beetles right here? See those little black guys? They're a real pain in the butt. But that's the great thing about no dig. And it's one of the reasons why I preach no dig. Because this growing media is so healthy, the plants are going to be able to defend themselves against certain pests and disease. It's why I constantly tell people who come in here, and basically anyone who will listen, that healthy soil equals healthy plants, and this is a great example of that. Now, because we're gardening all organically, we're not going to bring in any sort of synthetic pesticide or anything like that to kill these bugs. Basically, we're going to let Mother Nature, essentially the plant, fend for itself, and I'm very confident it will. You might have a little bit of damage, the plant might get a little bit stunted, but the plant's not going to die, and I truly believe that's because what is feeding this plant is the compost that we produce here on the farm, and it's just full of everything that this plant wants and needs in order to grow successfully. This bed here, we have our cucumbers. The reason you're seeing the trellis is because I wanted to save space in the garden, basically. So as the cucumbers grow, they'll vine out. Once they hit the trellis, we'll train them to come up the trellis, and we'll train them to come back down. Save space in the garden. It's a great way of going about growing your cucumbers. Not only are you saving space, but you also have your cucumbers up off the ground. So they're not gonna rot. Sometimes cucumbers, if they're sitting, and a lot of veggies are like this too, a lot of the viners, if they sit too long on the soil, especially if you get like a week's worth of rain, the underbelly of the fruit's gonna start to rot a little bit. So it's nice to have it up on the trellis, that way the wind kind of dries the fruit off. So very cool. On the outside of the fence, you're gonna see more pollinators. Some more bee balm right there. So the fence was pretty cool. As you can see, the bottom of the fence is a little bit tighter with the bars to prevent certain animals from coming in. And as you get taller, it gets a little bit wider. It's extremely sturdy. We got this stuff from Lock, Stock, and Barrel up here in Bethany. It's a great product. Our fence posts, we actually went out into the woods. We cut 6 foot lengths of some of the native trees out in our woods, cut them to 6 feet, dug them 2 feet down. Lucky for us, our soil up here is relatively sandy / clay, so we didn't even have to cement. We just post hole digger, boom, 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 stuck them down, slammed them in, and they're sturdy as can be, guys. And yeah, also when it comes to your tomatoes, so we will eventually be putting these guys inside cages, and we probably should have already done it. We have them staked for now. The other cool thing that I want to show you guys, so all these tomatoes here, this guy, the rest of them going down, we planted on Monday. This is the tomato that we planted when we discussed that you should always try to plant your tomatoes relatively deep. And you can see that this tomato is, I want to say, probably 2 weeks in our compost now, and she's thriving. I mean, look at the size of the stem on this tomato. She's happy as can be. She's growing. She looks great. She's healthy, and she's even starting to flower. So this is where your tomatoes are going to come from. Each individual flower will produce a tomato. So yeah, this tomato was planted about a week or 2 before the rest of them, and you can see the obvious difference in growth. The reason being is the compost. The compost, as I stated earlier, it's going to give the tomatoes, it's going to give all the plants in this garden everything that they need. Best part of no-dig gardening is, as you can see from looking at the beds, we created these beds about a month and a half ago, and I don't think anyone's even come out here and weeded them one time, and I think there's probably 1 weed per bed. What I like to do in my home garden, what I do here, is when I'm walking through the garden, if I see a weed, I'll come out, and don't be afraid. That's the other thing too. Don't be afraid to step on your beds in the no-dig. It's okay. If you make a little footprint, just come back, fill it in. But when I'm walking through the garden, if I find a weed, I pull it, I'll throw it on the walkway, or I'll leave it in the bed. It's low maintenance, guys. This form of gardening, you won't have to water as much because the compost retains moisture. As you can see, that's exactly what you want. It's less watering, less weeding, healthier plants. To me, it is a superior form of gardening as opposed to tilling and flipping and basically the stuff we were taught to do as kids. It's what I was taught, it's what my dad did, it's what my grandfather did. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini tour, and come back and see it in maybe another month, and hopefully these plants will be 3 times the size they are now. Thanks, guys.